Welcome to TORAH Talk. You really got to quit doing that, Rabbi.
Finger dancing.
Oh my gosh.
Disco.
This is William Hall from Kingston, Texas, USA. Episode number 26 with this crazy rabbi. Oh my gosh, I can never get used to seeing you do that. That's funny. Rabbi, how are you doing tonight? How are the pain meds working with your daily schedule?
I'm doing them less and less. How's that?
Oh, that's good. That's good. Oh my gosh, that is so cool, man. Well, it's always fun having you here, man. And we've been threatening it for a while, and so we definitely need to work on getting you here.
Hey, we've got a few weeks to do that in, let me tell you.
Very soon, I hope, man. That'll be nice. That'll be nice. Wow. So how has your week been outside of the meds and outside of your therapy and things?
Therapy is tough. You know, physical torture. I mean, physical therapists, they're yes. But doing okay, plugging away, getting better every week. That's for sure.
That's good. That's good. That's good.
Yes.
Well, I tell you what, it's going to be an interesting night. Oh, you know what I forgot to do? Let me do that right now. I'm going to log into the Ring Central phone lines. Will be open here in just a moment. I do apologize. I don't know if I told you this last week, but we've got a major gnat problem around here. Like not fruit.
By the way, did you know that they bite?
No, well, they're not gnats. These are actually fruit flies. So, and I figured out what was causing it. And so anyway, I'm trying every trick in the book to get these out, and so I got to have a glass of wine sitting here, and I'm surprised how many are actually coming and actually joining the party. So if I could just figure out how to get a hold of them without
maybe the fruit fly comes from the wine.
Well, no. Actually, the wine was fresh.
Yes, I know, but maybe the fruit flies are coming for the wine. They want to drink too.
I know. But the thing is, I want to get them before they get my wine because I want to drink that wine.
Yes, right. What do you mean the flies? I mean, the fruit flies would give it body.
Hey, there you go. Okay.
That's actually a joke from an old comic strip called Little Abner.
Little Abner. Okay.
Yes.
I remember. Okay, good deal. Okay, so the phone lines are officially open, 855-95-BIBLE. You need to remember that. 855-952-4253 is the actual number if you're dialing from an old-fashioned cell phone that does not have the alphabet with the numbers. So the phone lines are open. Volume's up, ready for your call. Really want you guys to call in with your questions tonight. We're going to start off with a question that has been... I forgot which one it was. I've got a list written down here.
It was about what was it about? I forgot.
Man.
See, you're getting to be as old as I am.
Oh, guess what? I just found another one we're going to do. Yeah.
No, that's fine. What is it?
Yeah, let's do this one first, and we'll revisit the other one if no one calls.
I have no idea the answer.
That's okay. Okay, based on what you've seen in the Gospels, was Jesus a zealot or an Essene? First, before you answer it, describe the definition of the two, the best of your ability.
Well, it's what's his name? It's Josephus who tells us there were 4 groups that were in existence 2,000 years ago at the time of Jesus. There were the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Essenes, and the Zealots.
Okay, we know he wasn't a Pharisee. We know he wasn't a Sadducee because there was Sadducees.
Wait.
What? But
I totally disagree with you.
Oh, really?
Yes.
Okay, tell me. Let's go there. I've never heard the fact that he could have been like qualified as a Pharisee. Sadducee, definitely not.
We're talking Jesus, right?
Yes, but see, the Sadducees didn't believe in the resurrection, so it couldn't have been Jesus.
Sadducee, yeah, Jesus was not have been a Sadducee.
Right.
Most likely he was a Pharisee.
Is it because he was fair in his dealings? Okay, sorry. I'll leave you.
No.
Okay.
Yes. Okay, fine. Stop me cold with that horrible joke. Okay.
Okay.
The Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Essenes, and the Zealots. Okay. The Pharisees, start over. The Sadducees were the group that was around the temple. Okay. They were their power base was the temple. They were written, produced, and directed by Rome. They were allowed to be high priests and what have you based on who could give Rome the most amount of money. And in the same way that the Maccabean rebellion began when Syria, Hellenized Syria, gave the high priesthood to somebody who wasn't even a priest, wasn't a Kohen. Rome basically did the same kind of thing. So the Sadducees were the temple group, and they were given their power by Rome. They were very much in cahoots with Rome. And the high priesthood was bought and paid for by the highest bidder.
Remember that. Okay.
Okay. The Pharisees were a group of people who were more interested, or because of history became more interested, in piety as opposed to politics. We'll come back to the Pharisees, because they're the group that eventually became the rabbis and rabbinic Judaism.
Okay.
So then you've got the Essenes, which in my personal opinion were the lunatic fringe of the Jewish community back then. First taking themselves away from Jerusalem, away from the central location of Jewish life there, and then who violated Jewish law by being celibate, violating the first Jewish law, which is be fruitful and multiply.
Okay, these are the Essenes?
No, yes, these are the Essenes.
Really? I didn't know that.
The lunatic fringe of the Jewish community. They're often believed to be the writers, creators, whatever, of the Dead Sea Scrolls, but I don't think there's any real proof of that. Some of their writings were zealously, but I'm not saying they're zealots, but zealously against the ruling powers of the Sadducees in Jerusalem, where they attacked the high priesthood who was placed there by Rome. But they took themselves out into the desert community. They were a celibate group, which means they could only continue their group by making converts to the group. And eventually, of course, they died out. And then the other group is the Zealots. The Zealots were the group for open rebellion against Rome. And their zealousness was in trying to overthrow the pagan, heathen, non-Jewish government. And you take a look at the Eli, I'll get to your question in a minute, but you take a look at their John. That's exactly what I'm saying. It's not the teacher of righteousness; it's the right teacher. Okay, if you read the Dead Sea Scroll, John, it's not talking about a teacher of righteousness. It's the right teacher as opposed to the ones they have in Jerusalem. It was an attack on the establishment. Okay, be that as it may. Sorry for the...
no, that's fine, actually. And it's important to note right now at this moment, John is a follower of TORAH Talk. He's also a Christian, and he's very adamant about it. So I'm hoping to get some good questions from him or comments from the YouTube channel on him tonight, because he brought up a couple really good ones on the last show.
Absolutely.
So we'll go there.
Related to these four groups, look, let me ask you a question, and I'm not asking you your politics, just I'm asking for the answer to the question, which is it possible to be a liberal Republican? Is it possible to be a conservative Democrat? Is it possible?
So is it possible to be like hot ice?
No, I don't agree with you. I think you can be to the right of center and still consider yourself a Democrat.
Okay.
I don't think the lines are so clear even today, and I certainly don't think they were that clear going back to the New Testament times.
Well, what you're describing right now is a perfect explanation of why so many Christians today, I say so many, that's probably inaccurate, why a handful of Christians today and a handful of Messianics today deny their classification because there's a few things they don't agree with in their own faith. So, like, for example, you'll have people who will say
you're
that...
my point.
And that's perfectly okay, and that's I have no problem with proving your point. But it's a real thing where you have a Messianic that says, "Well, I'm not a Messianic Christian because if I was, then I would believe X, Y, and Z." Or if I was a Christian, but I'm not a Messianic either because if I was this and I was this, then I would believe A, B, C, D, E, F, G, and I don't believe those things. But
William, this is exactly my point. I don't think that the four groupings of the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the Essenes, and the Zealots were so clearly set apart and distinct from each other. I think a person could be, which is exactly where I put Jesus, a Pharisee with zealot tendencies.
Okay. See, that does make sense. That does make sense.
A person could be a Pharisee and at least somewhat of a zealot at the same time. I think that you're unlikely to have a Sadducee who was zealously trying to overthrow the group of people who put you in power. But I think it's very possible, and I think that's how I would classify Jesus, as someone who was a Pharisee because he clearly believed in the resurrection. What does Josephus say is the distinguishing factor between the Sadducees and everybody else is that the Sadducees did not believe in a resurrection. Jesus clearly believed in the resurrection. He would have clearly been in the Pharisaic camp.
Right. Unless those things that were written in the New Testament, he never said. Because one thing you and I both know, and everybody reading, every Christian on the earth knows this, Jesus never wrote anything in the New Testament.
Right. And I understand what you're saying, but there are still some things that we can accept as coming from Jesus or closer to Jesus. Let me put it that way. Okay. And I think when Jesus says, let me ask you a question. Here's another question. Okay. If a person is a Republican, are they going to have more debates and disagreements with fellow Republicans or with Democrats?
Well, before this year, less. Of course, we all know now that Republicans are having.
Your answer is less what?
Well, no. Well, this year is a bad example. Let's say pre 2016-17, we would just say that there would be less arguments between the Republican Party within themselves than there would be with the others.
And I don't agree with you.
Really?
Because
wow.
Take a look at 17 candidates for the same office on the Republican Party.
Okay.
I
never thought of it that way. Yeah, that's a good point.
They weren't even bothering to talk or attack or debate or whatever Bernie Sanders or
they were trying Clinton. To. Well, I mean, but see, I don't think that's fair.
Hillary Clinton, because she was part of the administration, part of whatever, would go out of her way to attack all of those 17 candidates, for the Republican nomination.
But see, I don't think that's a good comparison, though, because the whole point...
It may not be, maybe up until 10 years ago, it was still a fact that people had greater disagreements and debates within their own family than they did with people outside their family. And I think that when every single time, how often is Jesus debating, not with the Sadducees, not with the Essenes, not with the Zealots,
but with his own followers.
Exactly, who are Pharisees.
Yeah, I see what you mean. Okay.
You Pharisees, you scribes, you hypocrites, you whatever.
Oh, but see, that's where I have an issue, and maybe because I don't understand. The people he was having this problem with the Pharisees were ones who were not following him. If they were following him, there would be no problem.
They may not have been following him, but they were coming from the same group of people with the same assumptions. When Jesus starts doing things like you find in Matthew 5, what's that called?
The Beatitudes or whatever.
Yeah, Sermon on the Mount. Gotcha. Okay, these are a very rabbinic, Pharisaic kind of way of stating things. Okay, it just seems to me that he had more to disagree with his own group, which would have been Pharisees, because that's who he's arguing the most with, than he would have argued with the Essenes, the lunatic fringe, who took themselves away from the community anyway. He's not going to debate with a zealot because in some ways, and I'll explain that in a minute, he was a zealot, or at least had zealot tendencies.
Like destroying the temple and all this other stuff, which is kind of crazy, by the way.
Yes, but also, as long as you've been with me, you've had everything you wanted, but now I'm telling you, go get a sword.
Yeah, right.
Okay. Big buddy Judas Iscariot is Judas Ish Sicariot, and the Sicari were the part of the zealots who had a very long, thin blade, who could walk right by you, stab you between your ribs to the heart. You would drop down, they would put the knife away and keep right on walking. Okay. This is what we have from the historians. Okay, so I think Jesus is clearly a Pharisee, but I also think that he had zealot tendencies. And go get a sword. Okay, you always had what you needed, but now I'm telling you, go get a sword. Okay, there's another place which I don't think people understand, and this may be my own weirdness. Okay, but they show him a coin, and he says,
"Oh yeah, right."
Okay.
Right. Yep.
And then he says,
"Whose face is on the coin? Give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. Given to God what is God's."
But
so, do you think that based on that, do you think that he was a plot by the government?
Wait a minute. Let me ask you a question.
Okay.
Who owns the world?
Hashem.
So when Jesus says, "Render unto Caesar's what is Caesar's, and render unto God what is God's," if everything belongs to God, he's telling his followers, don't give anything to Caesar. That's a zealot thing to do.
But actually, I've never, by anybody,
heard.
No, well, but the point is, everybody that I've ever talked to, millions of people on this planet, not me that I've talked to, but will tell you that they're saying right there that that's more proof that he is saying follow the laws of the land unless they violate Hashem's laws, right?
Yes, I understand their interpretation. I'm giving you mine. Let me give you another interpretation.
So you think that Jesus, let me clarify, you think that Jesus was saying screw Caesar?
Yep.
Really? Oh my gosh,
yes,
that is so bizarre. Wow.
Why is that bizarre?
Because
why is it bizarre?
What verse is that? Do you remember? I'm going to find it. I want to see what it says before that, just a hair.
Give me a second.
I'll help you find it too. So let me see. Give it to Caesar.
Let's see.
Oh, that's pretty crazy. I've never heard it before.
I don't think it's so crazy.
Matthew 12. See Matthew 22:21. Let's try that and see. Let's see Matthew 22:21. So, boy, this thing is slow. Really? Matthew 22. Come on there, numerical order. Really? 21.
Matthew.
Okay, so 22:21. So they said to him, Caesar, let's see, render therefore to Caesar. Oh, here we go. Hold on. All right, going back to 17. Tell us therefore, what do you think? Let me get out of this version. I don't like this version. Let's go to the CJV, Complete Jewish Bible. Okay, 16.
Which is not Jewish.
I know. Okay.
So please don't call it Jewish. Just say.
I know that's what they call it. The complete fake Jewish Bible. They sent him some of their Talmudim, the students, and some members of Herod's party. They said, "Rabbi, we know that you tell the truth and really teach what God's way is. You aren't concerned with what other people think about you, since you pay no attention to a person's status. So tell us your opinion. Does Torah permit paying taxes to the Roman emperor or not?" Yeshua, Yashke. However, knowing their malicious intent, said, "You are hypocrites. Why are you trying to trap me?"
Wait. Let's stop right there for a minute.
Okay.
How does it tempt Jesus, okay, that they ask this question, is it okay to give, according to Jewish law, tribute to Caesar? Why does Jesus say, "Why are you tempting me"?
Maybe for the very reason that you just said a moment ago, Maybe they think that Jesus is going to say, "The heck with Caesar, pay only God only." Maybe that's what they're thinking.
And they wouldn't ask him the question thinking that his answer would be against Rome, unless in their eyes he might have had zealot tendencies.
Okay, so here's where I have an issue with your statement. It says, "Show me the coin," he said, used to pay the tax. They brought him a denarius, and he said to them, "Whose name and picture are these?" The emperor, they replied. Yeshua said to them, "Give the emperor what belongs to the emperor, and give to God what is God." So he's actually validating him.
As a Jew, he would have known, as you even answered when I asked you, if God owns everything, Caesar gets nothing. Give to Caesar's what is Caesar's, give to God what is God's. If the heavens and the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, the earth is the Lord's and the fullness thereof, and all that dwell therein, or whatever, and he would have known this, then by saying give to Caesar what is Caesar's, he's saying don't give Caesar diddly squat. But let me remind you that this is the kind of attitude that would, get you arrested and crucified.
Here's another thought.
So when he says Caesar gets nothing, it feeds the fire of why Rome would have been so upset with a Jesus figure and want to arrest him and crucify him.
Okay, think about this.
There's more we haven't gotten to.
Okay, think about this thought. Okay, what does Torah state about giving to a man what is owed to him before sunset? Now, hold on, using this.
To him, wait, no, now you're confusing
it's a
things.
labor.
What is owed to him for his labor?
Right, but it's money that belongs.
Caesar wasn't doing labor.
No, but it was money that belongs, and it's a set up foundation, pre-set up.
Oh, it was a tax-free donation to a 501c3 institution. Come on.
Right.
Okay, let me show you another one.
I'm playing the devil's adversary here, man. I'm gonna lay it on you hard.
Right. Okay, but there's another place too.
Okay,
and let's see if I can find it real quick.
What's the general?
The general idea is exactly what you know, and that is, how about this? That'll go find it real quick.
Okay.
Come on. If you don't ask for the exact right
where are you searching
word, I don't want to tell you.
Well, if you search Google, you don't have to be exact.
Okay, fine.
So what's
Matthew 5:39.
Okay, so all right, Matthew 5:39. Let me see if I can pull this up here. Matthew 5:39. Butimoso. Okay, so but I tell you not to stand up against someone who dares you or who does you wrong. On the contrary, if someone hits you on the right cheek, let him hit you on the left cheek too. This is the CJB, by the way, the Complete Non-Jewish Bible.
That's fine. That's a better name for it and certainly more appropriate.
It's a CNJB. We'll call it that from now on. If someone wants to sue you for your shirt, let him have your coat as well. And if a soldier forces you to carry his pack for 1 mile, carry it for 2. Now, right there, verse 41, right there, if Jesus is saying, if someone is saying, give it to me, you give it to him. So if Caesar says, you give it to me because my picture's on it, this is my fee, you give it to him. So this would more support the other direction rather than him saying Caesar doesn't deserve anything. If that makes any sense to what I just said.
It makes sense. I just think there's another way to look at this.
Tell me. Sing me a song. Tell me.
You don't want to hear me sing.
Okay.
Right. At any rate, when
that's fun.
At any rate, it seems to me that when Jesus says this paragraph, it's what's it called? Passive aggression. He's saying be a passive aggression. Okay. If one smites you on the right cheek, turn to him the left. Is being passive, but is also being aggressive to the person who strikes you because they're not getting the response from you that they want. Okay? If somebody sues you for your jacket, give them your coat. Okay?
Also?
But it's not also, it's likewise.
It's the same thing.
The word also, in the what you call it, has numerous meanings. Kai, or whatever it's, I won't just do this now. Kahi, whatever. Okay. Indeed, likewise, moreover. Okay. In other words, my point is that it's a passive aggressive kind of thing. Okay. If someone wants to make you go a mile, and you go 2 miles. So let me ask you a question. If I hand you something to carry for me, and I say I want you to go a mile, and you go 2 miles, are you where you're supposed to be and where I need what you're carrying? No, you're a mile the other direction.
But that's not the point. I think that's nitpicking.
Oh no, I think it's very much the point.
Okay, let's do this. Okay, let me do this. Okay, John Anon. Like I said, mentioned him earlier. He's a follower of the channel, whatever. Now, I don't agree with 90% of what he says, but he brings up a verse that does give more clarity. If Paul, of course, teaches what Jesus taught, right, this would further verify what I'm saying is kind of down the path. Romans 13:1, let everyone be subject to the governing authorities, for there is no authority except that which God has established.
Right, and that's Romans, which is Paul.
I know.
The expression, kiss the tush of the Roman community so he can survive them.
Right.
Okay, and I'm happy for Paul. We're talking about Jesus.
All right.
Okay, I think Jesus was clearly he was a Pharisee. Okay. Certainly more than he was a zealot, certainly more than he would have been a Sadducee, certainly more than he would have been a Essene.
Right.
Okay. By the way, I wanted to make it clear that God made it clear of all those movements of Judaism 2,000 years ago, which one God wanted to survive. Mm-hmm. It's Rabbinic Judaism. Mm-hmm. So somebody also asked, let me find it. Eli asked the question, how about the Nazarenes? Yes, the Nazarenes were probably the earliest Christians who were Jews, but earliest Christianity, that group became labeled a heresy in the church. The Ebionites, Nazarenes, whatever you want to call them, were eventually called a heresy in the church and basically were kicked out of it.
Interesting.
And by the way, it's a very interesting thing that, Nazarene is a misnomer, okay, because there's real questions on Jesus having been from Nazareth, okay?
Yeah, because it should be a more Netzer. In fact, we should talk about that too tonight.
But Netzer is a different word completely.
Right.
And they're trying to make a pun, but it's an after-the-fact pun, okay? It's kind of like me prophesying. Nazarene is never anywhere in the Bible, but my point is that the other word, Ebionites, I think is also misunderstood.
What is an Ebionite?
Okay, Ebionite is the name given to the earliest followers of Jesus who were Jewish. It is believed, at least, that that's who it's referring to. The word supposedly, and I disagree with this, comes from the word Evion, means the poor people. So it was the poor people who were supposed to be followers of Jesus who were Jews, which I'm not sure is clear, but that's what they claim. Okay, and follow my logic here.
Okay.
When Paul gets pulled back to Jerusalem for what I would call the battle that he lost the battle and won the war over keeping of the commandments within the new Christian faith, the people who pull him back are who? Peter and James, right?
Okay.
Peter and James, their characteristic is that they thought Christianity in its earliest form should be and remain a Jewish sect that believed in keeping the commandments of God. Right?
Right.
Okay. Peter, by Jesus, is called the rock. Okay, the pun on Petra, whatever.
Pebble.
Okay, no, but either way, it's a stone.
You. Yeah, I totally agree.
Okay.
Right.
Well, instead of Ebionites coming from the word Evion, how about it comes from the word Evan, meaning rock,
right?
Meaning these were the original followers of Peter and James' view of the earliest Christianity should stay a part of Judaism and follow the commandments.
Sure.
And so the Ebionites were the descendants, the followers, I should say, of Peter and James. But the Ebionite community became labeled a heresy within the church because as the church became increasingly heathen in its membership, okay, and Paul responded to this by saying, don't become a Jew first, then you have to keep the commandments, but the whole purpose of Jesus' coming is so you don't have to keep the commandments.
Right.
Okay, and Paul won the war, but he lost the battle when he was pulled back in Acts 15, 16, 17, 14, 15, 16, whatever it is. You following what I'm saying here, William?
Yeah. Yep, you're good.
So
okay.
Both the Nazarene, whatever community were labeled a heresy of the church. Certainly the Ebionites were, and they fell out of existence and became no more of an influence on the church because they were outsiders. And by that time, the church was completely, wholly, and totally heathen in its membership and pagan idolatry in its beliefs and practices.
Oh, man. You know what? This is good stuff.
I know you're not going to agree with anything I said.
No. Actually, I agree with you on a lot of stuff. Some of the stuff I've never heard before, and it takes me a while to process it. And actually, the more I think about it, the more sense what you're saying actually makes.
Michael, Faircloth. So Jesus had zealot tendencies, and Paul was a bit of a Roman brown-noser. Yes, that's exactly what I'm saying.
That's
okay,
what
Paul was wandering all over the Roman Empire.
True.
I believe he got thrown in jail at one point. You'll have to correct me if I'm wrong on that.
Right.
Okay, I'm not that great on the history of early Christianity.
You got it.
Okay, he wanted to stay on the good side of Rome, so yes, he was a brown-noser.
That's funny.
Okay, and Jesus clearly, in my opinion, had zealot tendencies because some of the things he says and tells his people to do was a zealot response.
Right.
You know, you've always had what you needed as long as you've been with me. Now I'm telling you, you need a sword. That's a pacifist thing to be saying?
Right. That's not turning the other cheek.
It's not turning the other cheek.
That's not turning the other cheek, right?
Right.
Totally agreed.
Well, Jesus never turned the other cheek when he's...
So now, with that, he's basically a hypocrite because he's going against his own teaching.
Exactly. And it's even worse because when he actually gets slapped by a guard...
Oh, yeah, right.
You know, he rebukes the guard and says, if you struck me... You know, if I said something wrong, tell me what I said. But if I didn't say something wrong, why are you hitting me?
Yet the quoting of it is that he, like a lamb led to the slaughter, he went like
before his shears.
He was totally silent. He never spoke.
Well, right there he spoke, and he also, having just been slapped, was a hypocrite because he didn't follow his own advice.
Very true.
If he even gave the advice, because we don't know, as you said earlier tonight, we don't know what he said.
Yep, very good, very good. Okay, everybody, if you don't have this book, you need to get it. Rabbi Federow has got a really wonderful power pill, and it's called Judaism and Christianity, A Contrast. If you're a Christian watching this and you're open-minded, you should at least check this book out. You can get it on your Kindle for probably the least amount of money on the Kindle. You can buy it on Amazon.com. You can go to his website, whatjewsbelieve.org. And also, if you prefer the Spanish version, it's Creencia Yehudia.
No. Creencia Judía.
Oh, Creencia Judía.
Is thoughts, thinking in Spanish, and Judía is Jewish. So what Jews believe, the closest I could get, according to some South American people in my synagogue, was Creencia Judía, Jewish thought or something like that.
Gotcha. And so, and if you haven't tried it yet, you've got to get it. Jewish Mission Control.
Right, or the apps.
That's the app on your iPhone and your Apple.
Right. It's the book.
Yes.
Judaism and Christianity: A Contrast is a hardbound, paperback, Kindle, Nook, and ebook. The website is whatjewsbelieve.org. Spanish is creenciajudia.org, and through the whatjewsbelieve.org, it'll also click here for the iPhone and Android apps as well, which is Jewish Mission Control.
Nice.
Right. So
very good. We have not got one call tonight. I'm going to get my feelings hurt if somebody doesn't call in, at least to say hi.
Well, we've done the chat questions. So
yeah, that's true too. So, okay, yeah. Michael Faircloth, he cracked me up earlier. So true though. It's like definitely got the whole Roman brown noser thing going on. Okay, tell me your. I know you really don't discuss much on speculation. At least stuff that's kind of out there, like did Jesus even exist, sort of thing. But is there a possibility in your now a possibility? Keep this in mind. Was it a remote possibility that Jesus was a plant of the Jew to lead these people away from Judaism, to keep them away from true Judaism? Was that possible?
Why? Tell me the reason why they would not have wanted heathens to know true Judaism, the true God, the only God on heaven and earth, and have elevated themselves to a more spiritual state by obedience to the commandments of God. Why would they possibly want to keep that from everybody? Right.
But the whole point of the Jesus movement, according to Christianity, is that Jesus came to take away the law. Judaism would never teach that.
Of course not.
So
why? But first of all, I don't assume that Christianity came from Judaism,
right,
or the Hebrew Scriptures. That's one thing. Second of all, the statement is that Jesus was a plant by the Jewish community to lead the heathens away from Judaism. Makes no sense to me.
Think about this. The whole thing about the give unto Caesar what is Caesar's. I've heard like there's a video out there called. In fact, everybody watching this should at least go back and look at this video. It's very thought compelling. If anything, it'll generate some questions for you for other shows. But there's a video on YouTube called Caesar's Messiah.
Oh yes, it's also originally a book.
Okay, and so their suggestion is that was sort of not the plant of the Jews, but the plant of the Roman, the whole Roman government to actually help blend the whole Christian movement in with Rome to get them to pay taxes and to get them to this. So with that said, I could kind of see how that would work. Based on what you and I discussed earlier about everything belongs to God, why would we be giving stuff to Caesar to begin with? So if Jesus was indeed teaching, give to Caesar what is Caesar's, and secondarily give to God what is God's, that would be a really good tactic of the Roman emperor to try to get support from, or to get these Christians to kind of follow along and pay their taxes without fighting them. So a lot of crazy thoughts. But
it is crazy. I think that's a wild... Rome had all the power. Rome had all the military. Rome had all the weapons. Rome had. I don't see why they had to do something so elaborate when all they had to do was
force
put a sword to your neck.
Yeah, right. Yeah,
you're either going to pay up or guess where I'm shoving this through.
Right. Got it.
That
totally makes sense. Right. I completely agree.
Yeah, it's an interesting theory, but I think it's going overboard. There's no need for that.
Right. Gotcha. That does make sense. Okay. Let's see. I had another question. What was it? Actually, we still got 20 minutes technically. We didn't start.
W.J. Cleaver, I agree with you. Debating within the New Testament is all nonsense and at best circular reasoning. I couldn't agree with you more.
Agreed. Let's see. What? Hold on. I had another question that I was going to do. You know what? I'm thinking here for a second. Never mind.
What was the question you wanted to lead with, and when you and I both forgot what we were going to talk about?
What was the deal with the Sabbath being moved to Sunday?
Okay.
So it's Constantine. Constantine is what I understood. Was the Roman emperor, right? who was also made himself somehow or another was realistically the first pope, if you want to look at it in those terms. And that's debatable.
Not sure I would go that far, but go ahead.
Okay, so it's been rumored that some people say he was a bona fide Christian. He saw the light. He saw the vision of the cross in the sky by looking at the light, and he implemented all these new rules. Then he later basically made it illegal, completely illegal for any Christian to do the modern day Christian of that time, who was a Orthodox Jew who believed in Jesus, whatever, which they would like to call a Messianic Jew, made it illegal for them to keep anything Jewish. And they converted everything as far away from Judaism as possible. That's just some of the basic stuff that I've heard. What are your comments?
But the history, it isn't exactly the way you've stated it. The history is that the early church and the late church and the modern church, never called Sunday the Sabbath. They called it the day of the Lord, the Lord's Day. And Saturday was always the Sabbath, even in earliest Christianity, even in earliest Catholicism. It's just that the church, the Christian community being more and more and more and more heathen at its base, the origins of the followers of Christianity were heathen, not Jews. The Sabbath was no longer significant. They didn't have to keep the Sabbath because they weren't commanded to keep the Sabbath. The 10 Commandments at Mount Sinai weren't given to non-Jews. They were given to Jews. So if the church becomes less and less populated by Jews, the whole point of keeping the Sabbath, especially in light of, Paul's writings about, don't become Jewish, go straight to Christianity, Galatians bit, don't, if you become Jewish, then you got to keep the law, which by the way would include keeping the Sabbath.
Right.
Don't convert to Judaism first, go straight to Christianity. So because you don't need the law, and the whole purpose of Jesus coming was to save you from the law, which is to curse you. So the church never really called Sunday the Sabbath. They called it the day of the Lord, the Lord's Day. And by the way, remember also it was Sunday that you had the resurrection. It was Sunday that you had.
Depends on your book. Depends on your book you're reading, the letter that you follow.
Wait, what?
Depending on the letter, because it says early on the first day of the week,
yes.
while it was still dark. Well, the first day of the week in Judaism is actually at sunset the night before.
No, I understand that, but that's a different issue. From the Christian perspective, he was resurrected on Sunday. He was witnessed on a Sunday. He revealed himself on a Sunday. He came to visit his disciples on a Sunday. Sunday. Saturday was like skipped over in the narrative. So Sunday was the important day. It's when the Christian community started doing their weekly meetings. Because they weren't Jewish to begin with, it was the day that Jesus came to visit, the various disciples. It's the day he was resurrected, revealed himself, etc., etc. The Sabbath had become totally irrelevant to them, and Sunday, because of the history they had with Jesus and what we call Easter Sunday, became the main thing. And I'd have to look at this up more carefully, but I don't really think you get anybody calling Sunday the Sabbath until you have the Protestant Reformation. Right.
Well, that's why I kind of was wondering is because everywhere I look, even in the New Testament with Corinthians and all these others, it says that, all throughout the New Testament says, even in the Gospels where it says Jesus had gone into to teach on the Sabbath day, and it says the Gentiles bid them to let us come and you can teach us also on the following Sabbath day or whatever. That was not Sunday at that time.
No.
That was definitely Saturday.
When Jesus taught in the synagogue and to the Jewish community, absolutely, it would have been a Saturday.
Right.
When it goes and, by the way, interestingly enough, it means that by the time the New Testament was written, the Haftarot, the Haftorahs, were already in place, because it says he's reading from the prophets section. That's the Haftorah, Haftarah.
Right.
Okay. he's going to the synagogue on Shabbat, on Saturday. But I'm talking about in the development of the church, as the church became increasingly pagan or heathen in the origins of its followers, the Sabbath, you didn't have to keep the Sabbath. You weren't even a Jew. You were a heathen, now a Christian. So you didn't have to keep the Sabbath. And the Sabbath completely lost its significance. And the Lord's Day, the day of the Lord, became its replacement, for lack of a better term.
Right. True.
And then is that a phone ringing?
I can't find my phone. I don't know what it's at. Yeah. Oh, here it is. I keep hearing something. I need to turn this thing off, actually. That'd be nice. Okay. Go ahead, Rabbi. Sorry. Right.
So my quick point is that the Sabbath was always Saturday, even in early Christianity, even middle Christianity, late Christianity, whatever it's called.
Okay.
And only became called the Sabbath. The Sunday only became later called the Sabbath, I think, under the Protestant Reformation.
Interesting. Wow.
You know, I think that's pretty much the history of Saturday to Sunday. And it certainly expresses the reasons why, is because that's the day Jesus was resurrected, and Easter Sunday and all that stuff. It's when he came to the disciples. It's when he revealed himself. So. Okay,
completely off topic. Changing it completely around. Okay. 4706, I'm going to call this 4706. What happens, according to Judaism, when you die? Why is it...
Give me one. Write that down and give me a second. W.J. Cleaver says, the last to give up Mythra was Christians clear into the 4th or 5th century. I don't think they gave up Mythra. I think Mythra, among other pagan gods, was the forerunner of what Christian theology remains to this day. Okay?
Right.
And remember, W.J. Cleaver, Mythra was the patron god of Tarsus, as in Saul of Tarsus.
Interesting.
So Paul, Saul of Tarsus, would have been explicitly clear what the followers of Mythra would have believed and what the mythology around their Mythra would have involved. And you take a look at Mythra and compare it with the beliefs and theology of Christianity, they're really, really close. So I'm not sure they ever gave up Mithraism. I think that the Christians dissolved Mithraism into Christianity.
Okay, cool.
All right, so I'm sorry, what was your...
No, that's fine. That's fine. Okay. Excuse me. What happens, according to Judaism, when you die? Why is it...
Just one more time?
Go ahead.
Hallelujah says they borrowed many of the pagan rites and customs and amalgamated into Christianity as an official religion of Rome, etc. Hallelujah. My point is that it's not the rites, it's not the customs, it's the whole theology of Christianity that derives from pagan, dying, saving man gods, and nothing from Judaism. So it's not just the rites, not just the customs, it's their whole ball of wax. Okay, sorry. So what happens to us after we die?
Okay, so yes.
Best book ever is called The Afterlife in Jewish Tradition, the Jewish Views of the Afterlife by Alan Siegel, I believe. May rest in peace. I actually had him on my radio show, and I actually had him as a scholar in residence at my synagogue a long, long time ago. But at any rate...
to further that question, why is it that Judaism, in the Tanakh, why does the Tanakh never really mention much about Olam Haba, about the world to come? But in Christianity, the whole New Testament is completely revolving around avoiding hell.
Okay. This comes up every so often, and you hear the same response from me, William, but we have to use our words very carefully.
Okay.
Words have explicit definitions. And so when we say the word, like, for example, hell, that Christianity goes out of its way in the New Testament to avoid, let's discuss what we're talking about. Hell, by definition of the term, look it up, it's the place the soul goes to be eternally tortured in the next life for the sins it committed in this life.
True.
That's a big difference when you use the word eternal.
Right.
So, and why does Christianity is so caught up in that? Because it's directly the idea of Hades. It comes from the Greco-Roman world of their concept of the afterlife. It also has a lot to do with the Greco-Roman world's view of the body as being polluted and horrible and lousy and, leading man in temptation. But the soul, the spirit of man, is this high-level thing. And, you're supposed to get rid of the body and deny the body and all this stuff. It's very Greco-Roman and parenthetically very Christian.
Gotcha.
Okay, so keep that in mind.
Okay.
To answer your question why the Tanakh never really talks so much about it, it doesn't talk that much about it, but I think it's wrong to say it doesn't talk about it at all. Okay. You've certainly got in names. You know how bad I am with names.
It's okay.
Saul comes to the woman of Endor, which interestingly enough means
the witch of Endor, right?
Fountain of souls.
Interesting.
Okay. And he says, conjure up
Shmuel.
Samuel the prophet. Thank you.
Shmuel Hamanevi, yes.
I'm so bad with names.
It's the medication. I'm telling you, it's meds.
It's after my bedtime. Okay, so, and someone already pointed out that the word Sheol is never used there, but it's clear that's where they're saying he's coming from.
Right.
He's coming up from the earth. Where is Sheol? In the earth. So the word may not be used, but it's clearly Sheol. The point is that wherever he's coming up from is an afterlife.
Right.
Because he's dead.
Yeah, true.
So if you're conjuring him up, it was after he died, it's an afterlife existence.
That's true.
You can't say that the Tanakh never had a concept or is completely devoid of it. It's there. But why isn't it the basic thrust of the religion? Judaism has always been read the Bible. Pick it up and look at it.
Right.
Okay? It really isn't about how to get to heaven. It assumes an afterlife, but it's not concerned that much about it. Its concern is, how do we live in this world in the here and now? How do we treat each other in the here and now? How do we relate to God? How do we respond to God's love by giving us the commandments? We respond by obeying the commandments.
Right.
It's all about this existence. And the afterlife is assumed. Okay, yes, there is one, but it's not the main thrust of the religion. So why would it spend pages and pages talking about it? The whole thrust of Christianity theologically is how to get to heaven. So of course they talk a lot about it.
Right.
By the way, let me remind you also that what was your word about Matthew 5? The
Beatitudes.
It's all about how to live in this world also.
Right.
The Beatitudes don't say, well, if you want to get to heaven, the meek will inherit the earth. It's also about how to live in this world and how to behave in the here and now. So to answer your question, the main thrust of Judaism isn't about getting to an afterlife, and therefore the Tanakh really isn't going to be overblown up with statements about the afterlife and how to get there.
Sorry, that was me. I had to make sure the phones were working.
Oh, okay. Darn, I thought we had a caller.
Yeah, no, I just want to make sure the phone lines were working because we haven't had any calls tonight. So there's a lot of viewers. So I guess they're satisfied with the chaos I'm bringing into the show. So that's fine. Good deal.
Right. Okay. Well, so to answer the question, what happens to us in the afterlife? Nobody's ever come back from the afterlife, set up a class on Tanakh Talk, and said, take these notes, here's what you got to expect.
Although I guarantee you that if that does happen, it will be on Tanakh Talk.
Absolutely, of course. Especially because they'll be having good taste and they'll know where to go.
Okay? Oh, man.
But the point is that
that's
it's
funny.
Not,
right.
Never delineated clearly in the Tanakh.
Right.
Okay. And because there is a general belief, which is true and accurate, I'm not saying it isn't, I just said so, that that the basic thrust of Judaism is how to live in this world, in this life, it doesn't mean that the rabbinic writings didn't have pretty clear ideas of how they envisioned what the afterlife would be like, making Dante's Inferno look like a picnic in the park sometimes. what's the word we use? Poo-poo, to be
Yeah.
boiled in excrement. Okay. Boiled alive in excrement, et cetera, et cetera. So, the Jewish world was not completely free of the use of an afterlife to get people to sit up and take notice of what they should be doing.
True.
Okay, so all that having been said, what is your basic standing on one foot, quick explanation of the afterlife? Basically, the Bible says that when the body dies, the earth takes back from having given the flesh and blood the body. The dust returns to dust, and the spirit goes back to God who gave it.
Nice.
Okay, so what does that mean? It doesn't say the Jewish spirit, Jewish soul. It says the soul. So Judaism believes this really about every human being ever. We believe there's a punishment in the next life for the sins in this life. The punishment fits the sin.
And it's not eternal unless it's like really, really Hitler style, right?
Right. Okay. Yes, there are a few things or descriptions of certain types of people who face an eternity of torture or annihilation of the soul, that they have so tainted the part of God given to us that it's unredeemable. Like a brand put in the fire, you don't get it can't get rid of all the stuff clean to it, and it ceases to exist. So again, there are differing opinions on that too. But by and large, like the vast majority of people are not so evil that their soul ceases to exist or they are punished for eternity. That's just not our idea of God. Our God is compassionate, merciful, forgiving, and the punishment fits the sin. And when the punishment is over, the soul goes back to God who gave it. It's that simple.
Okay.
And this is true for everybody. And Judaism never believed you had to be a Jew to get to heaven.
Right.
This is. And by the way, there's another thing that you have to understand when talking about afterlife that people kind of neglect. You will have a rabbi or group of rabbis that will have their way of putting it all together. And then you'll have another group of rabbis who will have their way of putting it all together. You can't take stuff from one group and stuff from the other group and say, wait a minute, how do you resolve this? It's not supposed to be resolved. One of the characteristics of one group of rabbi, one is coming from the characteristics of another group of rabbis, and it's not meant to overlap. This is just their conjecture of how the system works.
Gotcha. Right.
So.
Okay, so we're going to move in now to the final topic for the night. Okay?
Okay.
And the final topic is very simple. Christianity says when you sin, you die. You have to have a blood sacrifice. In Judaism, can I sin and still be considered righteous before Hashem? And if so, how does that work?
Okay. There are verses in the Tanakh which talk about when a righteous man sins, he's still called a righteous person. So I think you'd have to go way overboard, okay, in sinning before your good side gets outweighed by your sinning side. Picture two scales.
Oh, that's good. Yeah,
okay?
I like that.
All right. So if a person on occasion sins, which we are apt to do, it doesn't mean you're overall a completely horrible human being worthy of the eternity of torture. It means you blew it, and there's a way to get back on the right side of God, which is still in the law. As a matter of fact, it's by obeying the law that you learn how to get back on the right side of the law. If you walk away from the law, then you're continually keeping yourself in a condemned state or whatever it is.
Right.
But by obeying the law, because the law not only tells us don't do X, Y, Z, it also says if you do X, Y, Z,
Beautiful.
Here's what you need to get back on the right side.
That would have been
my
next thought. Would be like our state laws. You get a ticket, they'll say, well, if you do wrong, then go here and do this,
exactly.
and this, and you will not go to jail. You'll still be righteous in the eyes of the government.
Exactly.
Same thing goes with
here's
the
way to get back on the right side of the government.
So,
exactly.
to the Christian, I would say, think about this. Your New Testament Jesus demands a blood sacrifice regardless of what the sin is, right? So, but yet you say that the Old Testament God is the one who's the one with the lightning bolt ready to strike, and the God of the Old Testament is of judgment and condemnation, and the God of the New Testament, Jesus, is that of mercy and kindness. If that's true, then why is it that you get condemned to hell with any sin in the New Testament, but in the Old Testament, he just simply says in Hosea, offer the calves of your lips. I don't want your sacrifice. I want you to repent in your heart, and I will make it right.
Right. Every single text in the Hebrew Scriptures, that talks about this says basically exactly the same thing. Stop doing the bad, start doing the good, confess, show remorse. One way is by fasting, pray to God, and God will forgive you. It's the very clear message of the book of Jonah. What do the people do? The king comes out with a decree that says neither eat nor drink. That's called fasting.
Right.
He says, cry mightily to God. That's called praying. The people understand they've done something wrong and they stop doing it. And then it says, God saw their works. Which works? That they stopped doing the evil. And so God did not do to them what he said they would do if they didn't repent. Mm-hmm. In other words, he forgave them.
Right.
So it's explicitly clear, in 2 Chronicles 7 something or other, 2 Chronicles 7:14. Mm-hmm. Yes, that's a very important. 7:14 is a very important number collection. Isaiah 7:14, 2 Chronicles 7:14.
Oh, good.
Yeah, interesting. So 7:14, if my people which are called by my name shall humble themselves
and pray,
mm-hmm. seek my face, turn from their wicked ways,
I shall forgive their sins.
Exactly.
Bam. Yep.
It's right there. It's
Beautiful.
Explicitly clear. It's as clear as you can get. By the way, I always thought it was very funny. Whenever there's a national catastrophe, tornado wipes out a city, tidal wave hits Indonesia, all these Christians start putting the same quotation, 2 Chronicles 7:14, on their marquees, which actually, is their way of saying, watch out or God's going to do it to us too. But they don't realize that by quoting 2 Chronicles 7:14, they're denying their own religion. Because nowhere in here does it say, believe in a dying, saving man God.
Right. And Jeremiah 29:13, I believe, is another interesting one. Let me just go there. 29:13, if I'm remembering right. When you seek me, you will find me, provided you seek with me wholeheartedly. It says nothing about you will find me only if you accept the blood of Jesus.
Right.
It says nothing about you'll only get the Holy Spirit if you accept the blood of Jesus. It says you will find me if you seek with me with your whole heart.
Right.
So.
Right, and it's over and over again. It's all throughout the Tanakh.
Absolutely.
So, yes. So that is how I would answer your question with a real quick answer. Very
good. And again, ladies and gentlemen, if you don't have the book, you're really missing out. This is such a really...
You are kind to say so.
No, I'm experiencingly saying this with historical proof of my own brain and mind. This is a really great book.
William, I know yes. We're supposed to finish up right now, but Thomas Schaus.
Okay, hold your thought. Let me finish my ad. Book author,
okay.
Rabbi Stuart.
I really appreciate it.
Rabbi Stuart Federow. If you have Rabbi Singer's books, and which Rabbi Federow highly pushes
it's
out,
in my
also,
bibliography in my book.
Okay, Rabbi Federow's book, the difference between singers and Federows is Rabbi Federow's is like an MRE, whereas Rabbi Singer's is more like a spread out table, like a Shulchan Aruch. Rabbi Singer's.
Very true.
Okay,
mine
so
is quick and to the point, comparing the theology of Christianity,
contrast,
with how unbiblical it is.
The differences
right.
in a very small package, which is very easy to read. You can get through it probably in just a few days, or if you're like my wife, you can read it in like 2 hours. But it's a really, really fantastic way. If you don't have it, go to Amazon, find it, get it on Kindle. If you don't have any money, Kindle's the best way to get it for like a couple bucks. If you want the hard copy like I would or my wife, so you can highlight pages, you can earmark, do these things, you want to get it on Amazon, or go to rabbiswhatjesusbelieve.org and find it on his website link. Okay, Rabbi, back to you on the actual final topic, which will be the one you were pulling off of the YouTube chat. What do you have?
Okay, well, didn't bring it up as fast.
Delane Davis, just to clarify.
Okay.
She says William is not exaggerating. This book is great.
Delane, thank you. That's very kind of you.
Very good.
Okay, what I was referring to real quick, because he's asking for help, and I know you can give it to him real quick. It's the question by Thomas Schaus. William, I'm new to being a Noachide. Is there any reading material you could suggest? There's the Chlorophene books, whose name I can't remember.
Chaim Chlorophene.
His name just went out of my head. Ira Michelson.
Chaim Coffman.
Right. What's the name of the Chlorophene book?
It's I Get Ger, I think.
Is that the name of it?
I think it is. Yeah. I Get Ger. Okay, I just hit a button on the screen. I don't know why, but I Get Ger is actually not. I just put your book up by accident. That's not the book you're going to go for, the Noachide. But here's what you want to do. You want to go, if you want to do a really good specialist on, and I do mean specialist that I deal with on a regular basis, you're going to want to find Rabbi Chaim Coffman on Facebook, because he does with Jew converts, future converts, and he also knows a lot about halakha for the ger, which a lot of people call Noachide. Okay, now Chaim Chlorophene also on Facebook. I Get Ger. Rabbi David Katz is a co-author of that book. It's really a great book. If you want to know what to do now,
The Path of the Righteous Gentile by Chaim Chlorophene.
Oh, there you go. There you go. I think I Get Ger is the book by David Katz. So The Path of the Righteous, that's actually a great book. Right. Very good. And so, and you also have a lot of other rabbis, like Rabbi Singer can answer questions. Rabbi Michael Skobac can answer questions for you. If you really want to have an alternate choice that is really juicy, Rod Bryant, who actually has a Noachide community through nativ.net.
Where you and I are going to be Wednesday night.
We will be there Wednesday night, right after we stop and find us some fun food to eat.
Yep.
Before we get there.
There's actually a few restaurants.
Wonderful. Man, I'll tell you what. Well, I'll tell you what, Rabbi, it's been a really, really awesome night, and I really appreciate your time, as usual.
Always my pleasure.
And
I like talking to you. I enjoy this. It's like a challenge, you know?
Yeah. We need to get you here, Kingsland, Texas, soon.
Very soon.
Very soon. You've got all your meds are starting to take over, and your body's starting to heal. We need to get you in your car and get you here. Stay for a couple days. We'll have at least one good solid, maybe a 2-hour show.
That sooner than you think.
I like the plan. Ladies and gentlemen, thank you so much for tuning in. Really enjoyed hanging out with you guys. Great questions, great topics. Enjoyed all the chit-chat on YouTube as well. And I really am looking forward to next week. So shalom to you all. Shalom. Rabbi, Shavua Tov, and Lahit Ra'ot. Until next time, we'll see you on the other side. Shalom.
חשוב מכל חשוב והכרחי להיות ביחד